incredibly Hello everyone and welcome to the Flight Simulation Association cross-community panel discussion. My name is Evan. I'm one of the co-founders of Flight Simulation Association. We're the people who put on the annual Flight Sim Expo event here in North America. And if you fly on VATSIM, you may also recognize my voice. I'm a controller on the VATSIM network in the New England region, Boston area of VAT USA. Welcome. Thank you for being here today. Now you should be able to hear audio coming through now. This is obviously just a recording that I did in advance of our live session, but I wanted to make sure that everything's sounding good on your end. So now is a great time to double check those audio settings and make sure that you're hearing us okay when the session does go live here in just a couple of minutes. Now, like I said, this is a video. I am not live yet, but I am nervously awaiting the start of today's session. You'll see a countdown showing how many minutes we have until we go live up at the top of your screen. So what are we doing here today? What is this cross-community panel discussion all about? As Flight Simulation Association and someone who's organized events for several years now, we are trying our best to give the community unique ways to connect with some of the developers that we know and love from around our world. We're obviously well aware that people are chatting with developers all the time through Discord and on social media and on forums and other places, but oftentimes that's just behind text, and it's always hard to really get a sense as to who people are until you have the chance to see their face and see them talk in an environment like this one. So we launched the cross-community panel discussion in order to try to give developers and give our community an opportunity to connect and get together in between the big in-person flight simulation shows that happen both here in North America, where I am, and of course around the world. So we've got several developers who are going to be joining us today, participating via video, and this is all about helping us as a community get a better sense as to who these developers are, what makes them tick, what they do outside of the conversations that we're already having on social media and forums and other places where you may be interacting but you don't have a chance to really know somebody. So those developers who are presenting on video, you'll be able to see them in just a couple of moments, but we know that if there are roughly 6 or 7 people that are on video, that leaves something like 700 other flight simulation developers who wouldn't be able to participate. And so in addition to the video chat that you're going to see in a couple of minutes, you'll also see that there's a developer chat via text, and we've invited everybody, and we invite you right now, if you are a flight simulation developer, freeware or payware, if you're a content creator, if you're somebody who is active developing products, software, hardware in the flight sim community, we'd love for you to take part in these discussions. The whole point is to help us get a chance as a community to hang out and interact with some of the people who build the products, the scenery, the airplanes, and the hardware that we know and love as flight simmers. So if you are one of those developers, please reach out to us through Flight Simulation Association. We'd love for you to be involved in the text chat today, and then in the future for you to be on video if it's something that you're comfortable doing. Now, to get the questions for today's panel discussion, we reached out to content creators from around the community, and we said, hey, what do you think that the people who watch you on Twitch or on YouTube, what would they want to know from developers? And so we've worked with various content creators, some of whom are helping us broadcast today's session, to come up with questions and help to shape what you are about to hear. And again, if you are a developer of a product, whether it's freeware or payware, or if you're a content creator, you have a YouTube channel, you have a Twitch community, please reach out to us. We would love to work with you as a broadcast partner. We'd love to have you on the developer chat. We would love to get questions from you next time. So please send us an email. You can find my information at flightsimassociation.com. The contact details are right on there. We'd love to have you getting involved. This is absolutely for the whole flight sim community. We would love to have more developers, especially freeware developers, some of those big groups that are doing amazing work for free for the community. We'd love you to take part as well. So please reach out to me, and we would love to have you on for the next time we do one of these things. So let me talk a little bit about broadcast partners and watch parties. Now, of course, you can watch today's session on our website, Flight Sim Association. You'll also be able to see it across the YouTube and Twitch channels of many of our participating developers. But most importantly, we wanted this to be a chance for the community to hang out and come together. So we've reached out to a number of people who are content creators, people who have a YouTube channel or a Twitch community, and we've said, hey, we would love for you to be a broadcast partner and basically host a watch party. What do I mean by watch party? I mean you as the content creator watch along, give us your thoughts and your comments and share those with your community. So we have several people that are going to be doing that. So if you're watching on the Flight Sim Association YouTube channel or on our website, you can also just have a quick look through some of your favorite content creators' channels and see who's happening to watch with us today. I'm also putting on the screen here a list of some of those broadcast partners that you can watch today's presentation with. And so they're going to be watching, you'll see their face, and they're going to be commenting along and reacting in real time. So if you know any of these communities, if you're part of them, then please watch this with them. You don't have to watch it on our website. Of course, we'd love it if you choose to do that, but by all means, we would love for us to be able to make this into something where it's a bit of a hangout with your favorite content creator. Now, if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, or really if you're watching this anywhere, you can help us out as we get set to go here in just a couple of minutes. Please help spread the word. Share this link with somebody, whether it's in your Discord community, if you have a TeamSpeak that maybe your virtual airline is part of, grab a couple people and watch with them. The whole point of this is to bring us into a place where we're a little bit social. So if you're watching all by yourself, that's fine, and we'll hang out with you and we'll be friends. But if you have a group of people that you hang out with and you fly with and you sim with on a regular basis, pull that group of people together right now, send them this link, and please let's have this be a social environment for all of us here in the Flight Sim community. I mentioned that I'm a co-founder of Flight Sim Association. We are an independent, community-driven organization designed to do stuff just like this, to bring our flight simulation community together in these unique and engaging ways. Of course, that all culminates with our main in-person show, Flight Sim Expo, that we do every year here in North America, but it also happens throughout the year through things just like this. And in addition to working with the existing community of simmers, people like you who are watching right now, we also aim to be a launching pad for people to get into this hobby. We think it's important that there's an independent group who can help educate, especially real-world pilots, on just how much this home flight simulation stuff can help them. So that's why we're working with major organizations in real-world pilot training, people like Lime Aviation, Redbird, Sporty's Pilot Shop, to say, hey, real-world pilots, you guys could get an incredible amount of value from the stuff that we home simmers are doing every day at a fraction of the cost of flying a real airplane. We do outreach by going to local flight schools and actually giving presentations about home flight simulation to them. And of course, our event, Flight Sim Expo, is all about helping people who are new discover this amazing hobby that we all love. You can help out with that if you want by becoming a member. It's totally free to join, and you can find out all the details about how to join at flightsimassociation.com. We're going to get started here in just a couple of moments. I want to take a second to thank everyone who's participating today, the developers who are on video, the even more developers who are participating via our live chat, and anyone who's helping us spread the word by simulcasting this on their YouTube, Facebook, Live, Vimeo, and of course all of our broadcast partners who are hopefully watching me in watch party form right now. So hello to all of you. Huge thank you for supporting us. And of course for those of you who are watching, whether you're watching by yourself, with a group of people, or whether you're watching with one of our broadcast partners, of course this wouldn't happen without you. So thank you very much for being here. We are just about ready to go live, but before we go, I'm going to give you the first opportunity to enter today's stream raffle. We're very fortunate in this community to have developers that are super generous, and they have given us a whole pile of prizes to give away as part of today's live session. So even though we haven't started yet, you can actually enter right now. Now it's limited to one entry per person at this point, so make sure you only do this once. But right now, you can go to flightsimassociation.com/contest. That's flightsimassociation.com/contest. Put in your information and you'll be entered into our raffle. We'll be looking at those entries in the next few minutes. We'll be announcing winners here as part of our live stream. We'll be back with all the details on how you can win when we are live in just a few moments. But the contest is open right now. It's open to everybody who's watching. You do not have to be a Flight Sim Association member. If you are, thank you. We appreciate that. But you don't have to be. All you need to do is go to flightsimassociation.com/contest, put in your information, and you will be entered into the chance to win a huge pile of prizes. More details on that when we go live here in just a few moments. huge thank you to everyone participating today, whether you're watching with one of our content creator broadcast partners, whether you're watching on one of our developers' live streams, or if you're watching with us here on Flight Sim Association. Thank you for taking part in today's session. Don't forget, take a couple minutes right now, enter that contest at flightsimassociation.com/contest. Stick around. We are just about ready to go live and have a wonderful conversation with some awesome developers. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Flight Simulation Association cross-community panel discussion on flight sim add-on development. My name is Evan. I'm the host of today's presentation and looking forward to a wonderful conversation with several developers, both on video and via chat here in just the next couple of moments. Now, some of you may be watching with us on Flight Sim Association. Some of you may also be watching through our broadcast partners, people like Anthony, Moose, Maurice, Trevor, Sergio. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for supporting and being part of today's presentation. Chewy was supposed to be part of it as well, but unfortunately, he got his third COVID booster, which maybe that's probably a good thing. And he was feeling a little bit under the weather today, so unable to join us, but I'm sure he'll be watching along at the very least. What we're doing today over the next roughly 90 minutes is helping to bring the community together and giving us these opportunities to connect with developers. Developers are great about chatting on the forums and answering your questions, but we thought let's give people the opportunity to see faces and really get a sense as to what gives these people the drive and the passion that keeps them developing these amazing add-ons for us every day. So we're going to start off with some open discussion on a couple of questions that were sent in by content creators from around the community. That'll be about 30 or 45 minutes. Following that, we'll do our first of 2 prize draws. We have like 20 plus prizes to give away today. Developers have been incredibly generous, so a big thank you to them for doing that, and I'll talk more about how you can enter that in just a second. Then we'll go back to the panel, another 30-45 minutes worth of Q&A, again with questions sent in from content creators who have basically polled their community and said, hey, what are you interested in? What do you want to be able to sort of chat with us about? And we'll answer those questions, and then following that, I'll be back to do another prize draw as we wrap up the afternoon about 90 minutes from now. So let's get into some of that contest stuff. You can enter our raffle right now. You don't have to be a Flight Sim Association member. If you are, that's awesome, but it's free to enter to anybody. All you need to do is visit flightsimassociation.com/contest. That's flightsimassociation.com/contest. Now just enter this once at this point. So if you entered earlier, maybe 5-10 minutes ago, don't enter again just yet. You will have a second opportunity later on. But if you haven't entered yet as of 5 or 10 minutes ago, now is the time to do it. flightsimassociation.com/contest. And we'll be back to announce the winners of the first round in a couple of minutes as well. We'll have the second opportunity for everybody to participate as well. Now, please, if you're watching this, maybe not with one of those content creators I mentioned, but maybe you're hanging out on our YouTube channel on FSA, you're watching with FSElite, with Orbx, or with any of the other folks who are helping us simulcast this, maybe you're listening on Sky Blue Radio, we want this to be a social experience for people, and we hope that the conversation doesn't just end at the end of today. So this is a great time to grab a group of friends. If you're part of a virtual airline, or you have a TeamSpeak or a Discord community that you fly in, grab some people, have them watch with you, and hopefully this can be the start of a conversation that you guys have. This is all about bringing the community together and giving us a chance to hang out as we wrap up the year and head into a festive holiday season. Now, we love feedback here at Flight Sim Association, so I'll tell you, because there's like 30 places that this is being simulcast, obviously we can't watch all of those places at the same time, but there's 2 places that if you have any suggestions, feedback, ideas that you want to share with us as we keep this cross-community panel discussion going, or if you'd like to be involved in the next one as a panelist or as one of the broadcast partners who help to spread the word, I'll tell you the places that you can go to share that feedback with us. The first place is on our YouTube channel, so that's Flight Sim Expo. Search Flight Sim Expo on YouTube, or go to youtube.com/Flight Sim Expo, and on that channel you'll be able to leave us a comment. So if you have an idea, something you'd love to pass our way, that's a good place to do it. And similarly, the other place of course is on our website. So if you're watching as a first officer on Flight Sim Association, send in your feedback to me, and of course if you're a captain, huge thank you for the support and helping keep our website going. And of course you have access to our live chat. I'll be watching that once I send the panel on its way here in just a couple of moments. If you have any thoughts, feedback, we'd love for you to share that with us. And that is pretty much my introduction, so make sure if you haven't done it, now is your chance to enter that contest for some of the prizes that you can see playing on the screen behind me. I'm going to hand things over to the panel here. This is moderated by Calum from FSElite, who is one of the news communities that help keep us all in the loop when it comes to what's happening in the world. So he has the tough job of keeping all of these developers on track today over the next 90 minutes. I'll be back with you in about 30 or 45 minutes as we announce our first set of prize winners. But for now, let me send things over to Calum and the Flight Simulation Association Cross Community Panel. Calum, over to you.
Thank you, Evan, and hello to everyone who is watching this cross-community panel. As Evan said, my name is Calum from the FSElite team, and I have the sincere pleasure of moderating today's panel all about flight sim add-on development. And I'm joined with a fantastic panel, and we are going to dive straight in with some introductions because there are some familiar faces and maybe some faces that some of you haven't seen before. So we're going to start with Nick from FlightFX. So if we could go around the room and if you could give a quick introduction about who you are, what developer you're with, and also what you're representing on today's panel discussion. So Nick, if we can start with you, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thanks everybody for having us. My name is Nick from FlightFX. We are a scenery and aircraft design shop, currently focusing on products for the everyday consumer and those who really try and maximize their flight sim experience within a Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020.
Welcome. Thank you very much, Nick. Mir, if we could head over to you now.
Hi there. My name is Mir from Flightbeam. Thank you everyone for joining. Obviously, I started Flightbeam back in 2010. It's been 11 years, 11 good years. Thank you to our customers. And we have started with one product, and now we're at 24, so we're really proud of that, and really glad to be on here to have some good discussions.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for joining us and taking the time. Elijah, if we could hear from you now, that'd be great.
G'day everyone, I'm Elijah from NZA Simulations. We're a scenery development team based all around the world, but mainly in New Zealand and Australia as per our namesake. So I myself am a developer there as well as one of the co-founders, and we're just trying to bring you some of the best scenery that we possibly can at the moment in Flight Simulator 2020. And awesome to be here. Thanks, Calum.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Ed, if we could now head over to you.
Hi, yeah, my name's Ed Correa, and I'm the head of the partners at Orbx. We've been around for quite some time. I think everyone's heard of us, I'd say. And yeah, I'm here to sort of bring to the discussion the side of the business that I look after, which is, you know, the Orbx Direct and our partner network that is growing.
Excellent. Really looking forward to seeing what you have to say on today's panel. And now we're going to head over to Ben.
Hi, I'm Ben Supnick. I'm the lead developer for the desktop edition of X-Plane. I've been working for Laminar Research for over 2 decades, taking a very brief break from working on X-Plane 12. And we're on the other side of the table. I used to be a third-party developer a very, very long time ago, but now I'm the one who third-party developers talk to when they want to make add-ons for X-Plane, when they need new things out of the simulator, or they want to know what the sim can do, or they have a compatibility problem. So I can talk a little bit about what it looks like from the other side, from the company that makes the host platform.
Excellent. I think we're going to get some very interesting perspectives from yourself there, Ben. And last but by no means least, we have Blu Games as well.
Yeah. What's going on, beautiful people? Blu Games. I am a flight simmer at heart. That's what I do. I am a YouTube content creator, live streamer, play a lot of X-Plane, Microsoft Flight Sim, DCS World. I'm a product reviewer as well, so it's definitely honored to be in here with all these developers because I use every single one of their products. So it's be really cool to kind of represent the community and just kind of see what you guys have been working on and kind of get some questions answered.
Amazing. Thank you very much for taking the time as well to join us today. So if you're watching at home, you can see we have quite a diverse and quite an experienced panel of developers and community members and simulator experts as well. So this should be a very, very interesting discussion. So as Evan said before I took over the hosting duties, we have some questions from the community, which we're going to spend the next 30 minutes or so all discussing. So I believe Evan has a video from Captain Bob, and he's going to play that now with our first question to the panel.
Hi, it's Trevor from the Captain Bob Flight Simulation YouTube channel. Thank you for all the panelists for doing this. So my question is, what are some of the things you do to involve the community in your add-on development? And where does the community help? And also, what are some of the things we should stop doing that really annoy you?
Thank you very much, Captain Bob. So 3 questions there, just repeat them back just in case anyone at home missed them. So the first question was, what does the community do to help? what are some of the things that we should stop doing that kind of annoy us? And also, what are some of the things that the community do to help with add-on development? So Nick from FlightFX, if we could start with you, just get this discussion rolling. And then if anyone else wants to jump in with any of their own thoughts, then please feel free to do so.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. We have kind of an interesting perspective, I guess, especially on the last part of that question. Probably because out of everybody that's here, we're probably one of the, I guess, noobs. So I would say on what annoys us. Well, at the moment, nothing annoys us. we're not quite there yet. I'm sure some other people might have a different take on that. I know there's some stereotypical things. I know it's kind of like the kid in the back seat going, "Are we there yet? Are we there? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" So we have a fair amount of that on our Discord channel, and our Facebook channels and stuff like that. But I actually don't mind it because it does, to me, it actually shows enthusiasm. I would definitely prefer that over like crickets and nothing being said whatsoever. So that actually doesn't bother me. And out of the group of us that kind of that's all a part of the operations team here at FlightFX. I'm the one that primarily does most of the public outreach. So I think we none of us really mind the kind of "are we there yet" comments. But in terms of some of the other aspects, I got to tell you, it's for years. Myself in particular, I kind of existed on the other side, the people viewing this channel right now. Searching my favorite, sites, watching for my, products that were coming out. And I definitely can appreciate wholeheartedly the enthusiasm. And, because there's an identity that I think for a lot of the stuff that we do, we have a tendency to forget that sometimes. Like we'll pick things that, have a certain metric for us internally about why we pick certain projects. But sometimes I think we forget on the other side of that, there's some deep-rooted connections to some of the products that we consider making or are making. For on a scenery side of things, you happen to pick an airport that somebody did all their flight training at, or somebody worked at, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You're touching on a nerve with people that you're really hitting a deep-rooted connection that they have to that product that you're building. And that eventually turns into, it can yield benefits where we have offers a lot of times of people that want to help, hey, I'll take pictures and stuff like that. And, they really want to like sort of dive in and help. And sometimes I know myself, for the projects that we've been working on, we've had offers of help where I almost feel bad sometimes saying like, hey, do you mind going out and getting this picture or whatever? Because, here we are doing something that's technically for profit. And these people are so in love with what it is that you're making for them that they're willing to get in their car, sometimes commit criminal offenses like run on airports and take pictures and stuff like that to kind of help you out. And you almost feel guilty, asking for help. And then there's times when it sort of unfolds and it really helps you out. And I like to give you a brief story. We were Tom Livings and I, who's another member. He's one of the other partners here at FlightFX. When we were working on Chicago Executive, we were, out there doing some guerrilla photography at the airport and stuff like that. And of course, the one thing that you kind of just know if you ever travel is like, yeah, when you're out there like taking pictures with what looks like professional photography gear, like you don't want to like cause a ruckus, even if you're just behind the fence and you're not really doing anything. But we did get asked. Somebody came out of the FBO and said like, hey, what are you doing? And we're like, oh well, the gig's up. I think we're gonna get kicked out. And it was like blah 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 Microsoft Flight Simulator blah blah blah. But wait, hold on a second. Wait, what are you doing again? And as soon as that was said, the guy's like face changed, and he was like, "How can I help you? I work here. I play it all the time. Like, I explain Microsoft Flight Simulator, all of it. It's great. Like, do you want to go inside and take pictures?" And we're like, "No, it's all right. I appreciate it." And then, he actually ended up becoming one of our beta testers, and then and two other gentlemen at the airport. I don't want to name their names. I don't want to get them in trouble, but they ended up becoming beta testers, and they actually ended up providing us with some photography for some things that we missed, things that were deep into the airfield that you couldn't really get, and helping us straighten out taxiways and stuff like that. So it runs the gamut. I think if I were to identify the most frustrating thing, though, that from the experience, I would say, and I think this is probably, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I can say this is probably a thing for all of us, is that when you're doing something for a closed platform like Xbox, I think it's a little easier because you can't really mod it and you can't really screw it up, and you're not dealing with a whole bunch of unknowns. When you're doing something for a computer, there's literally thousands of variables, and so when somebody comes to you with a problem, it's hard to fix sometimes, or it's hard to sometimes calm them, because they will come on and they'll be like, this is wrong, it's your fault, I know it is. And I know with me, the approach that I've taken is I've actually gotten on the phone and done video calls with several of our customers, and worked through and solved things that in the end literally had nothing to do with our scenery. There was add-on issues or things in the community folder, and I know people sort of get that now that they're watching the boards and stuff, but I would say maybe that might be the most frustrating thing. But at the end, I don't mind it. The more active our forum is, it means that we're headed in the right direction.
So does anyone else here feel those same frustrations that Nick's kind of describing?
I can't say like the frustrations for sure, but one thing I really want to emphasize that Nick said there is the help that for small developers like ourselves, the help that we get from the community when you say, hey, look, we're doing this airport, or we're thinking of doing this, is awesome to see from the community. We're not a massive team. We can't afford to send people out, to get 1,000 photos of a particular airport. So when people do offer to help, it's awesome. But saying that, some of the most frustrating bits can be when it's a problem that's not exactly ours, but hey, look, we're happy to help, happy to make it work. But it can, when it's something that you've never seen before and they're expecting a fix in an hour, it can be quite frustrating.
From the perspective of somebody working on the host flight sim, I would encourage users to have some patience with third-party developers. Sometimes third-party developers run into limitations of the sim itself. And we hear about this because third-party developers say, oh, we can't get this thing to work right, our users really want it. And we try to help the third-party developers, but this takes time. Sometimes the cry of users becomes so strong that developers hack the sim a little bit. X-Plane is pretty open, and sometimes you can bend some rules. I would encourage users to not push for that too hard, because in the short term, you might get a cooler add-on, but in the long term, it takes everybody more time, because what we end up with is compatibility problems. X-Plane's been in continuous update for over 25 years now, and so we're always trying to make sure that when we update the sim, that old add-ons keep working, because it's not fun to get a new feature, but half your airports are broken and your airplanes don't fly. So we're always trying to keep things working. And if you're a third-party dev and you sunk a lot of time into that airport, the last thing you want to hear is, I can't work on my new project because I have to go fix the old thing. So we try to encourage third-party developers to color within the lines so that we don't have compatibility problems. And I would encourage the community to support third-party developers in that. It might be frustrating in the short term, but in the long term, we're all going to get fancier stuff faster if we can do that.
What's your perspective, Blue, then, from like a community side, then, from kind of these frustrations that these guys are airing?
Yeah, I like what Nick was saying about whenever a developer is working on your airport, like your home airport, like you have a different type of connection to that spot, because like you drive by it or you see it or you work there, whatever. And so I'm actually in a very similar situation right now. There is a developer out there who's working on my home airport. Matter of fact, two of them. One of them's already released, and I was very unhappy with it. And I was like, man, if I could have only have helped him in some way to either be like, hey, like this is how it looks, or you could have done this better, then he could have made at the end of the day, a better product. And the same with this newer developer who's coming out very soon. I haven't been able to reach out to him. So one of my questions to you guys is like, how would somebody in the community reach out to your companies and be like, hey, like, I see you've announced you're working on this airport somewhere, and this is my home airport. Like I work there, I can get you high quality photos or whatever you need. Like he said, like I know when it comes to my home airport, like I don't care. Like I will do it for free. I'm not asking for money. I know a lot of people feel the same in the community. It's their home airport. You want to be able to fly in and out of there all the time, in every plane that ever comes out. That's like your default,
Yeah.
you know? So, but how would someone reach out to you and be like, hey, I see you're working in my airport. I understand you're a professional at this, but you may not actually live here or get the opportunity, especially with these days and times, to actually get out and go and get that, research. So how could we reach out to you?
I'll take a shot at answering that, and I'll yield if anybody else wants to jump in. I know that again, going back to that what you just brought up, Kayla, is look, to me, for us, when we had people that came to us that said, like, I work there, I love this, this is whatever. When we were in the development process, we treated that with a tremendous amount of respect, because, like I said, we have an appreciation from being on the other side of the fence. But in terms of what specifically you can do to help, to be honest, it depends on the level of access that we have right from the very beginning. We're currently working on DuPage and Pompano right now. Pompano, we're much more limited because none of us are actually in Florida at the moment. DuPage is right down the street, and we're working with the airport authority, and they gave us a tour, and we were able to photograph everything we want. Where that comes in from a photography side, because I know that everybody sort of quickly says, well, like, hey, I can get you pictures. A lot of people don't realize from a 3D design standpoint that great pictures aren't always what they actually think they are. And a great picture isn't just, oh, look, here's a picture of the terminal. You can clearly see everything. That usually becomes very helpful as you get further into the process and you're like, crap, did we miss anything, right? Does this tree, in fact, go over here? Does this go over there? But a lot of the pictures that we really rely on for us to make stuff like really, really good are the most boring pictures you can ever think of. They're literally like, take a picture of the concrete wall and nothing else, and then we'll repeat that texture throughout the entire building. So there's a certain, and I remember the first time that I went out and I did it, and Tom yelled at me because we were working on another airport at the time, and Tom yelled at me. He's like, I gave him this whole bundle of pictures, and he's like, half of these are crap. Like, first I was trying not to get caught, and all these kinds of things, and he's like, half of these are, junk. I can't use these. So from a photography standpoint, when people want to help for pictures, a lot of it is like, hey, we missed this. This hangar or something like that, can you get pictures of it? And it's really like, can you just get a picture of the blank side of the concrete so we can replicate that texture? But really where most of the help comes from is you can do as much due diligence as you want. It can be practically your home airport. Like I'm right down the street from Chicago Executive. You forget things. Taxiways aren't the right place. Like, is there a sign here, whatever? And I will go back and I'll speak to the couple of guys that worked with us, is that, they were helpful. And sometimes it's just one little thing. Like, what exactly does this sign say at Alpha and Charlie, right? It's like, I really want to go to that level of granularity, and I can't see it from Google Maps. I can't see it from Bing. It's just, it's not there. So sometimes it's just the smallest things will unbottleneck the product development for us.
That's really cool to hear.
I think one of the dangers with people helping out as well is that, obviously people hear that you're doing an airport and they'll get in touch with us saying, I work at the airport, and they'll help out with photos and things like that. And that's always great, and we appreciate that. But sometimes the trick as well is that once you release that airport is to have that level of expectation set, because you'll have that one guy who's helped you with a photo, or a bunch of people that fly that airport, and they're going to be looking at the most minuscule details, and you've missed this, and they'll complain about that. Whereas generally 85% of the people that fly that airport or play or
never see
whatever it is, never see it in their lives, and they think it's a fantastic piece of art. So I think that's probably one of the frustrating things is trying to set that level of expectation as to what you're going to end up reproducing. And and I think for ourselves, with the community getting involved, we've not really been we've only set up our Discord channel last year, I think it was. So we've always relied on our forums and Facebook and things like that. But, getting suggestions coming through from the community, or wanting to help out and things like that through our Discord channels is probably working quite well. We're working on an aircraft at the moment, particularly obscure aircraft that's, based in New Zealand. And we just went out on the social channels saying, look, we're going to be doing this aircraft has anyone got access to it? And the amount of people coming back saying, look, I know the pilot, and we've got all these guys that are actually operators of these aircraft, and they're giving us so much information, the operating handbooks and photos and how it flies, things like that. So yeah, I mean, it's great to have a win like that now and then, but then there's other times where you're trying to do something and there's just crickets out there. You don't get any sort of, you can't find any help and things like that, and that makes it really harder to do, especially like maybe the bigger airports. I know that Mir, I mean, with Auckland, you went and did it yourself. I mean, I think there's a great little video of you going around taking photos and and spending quite some time, and it shows with the product.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been kind of blessed in getting some cooperation with much bigger airports. And I don't think a lot of people realize, a lot of our customers realize how much work goes into getting into a large airport and take pictures on the airside. It is a tremendous amount of paperwork and insurance and all this, and expenses especially.
Yeah.
And getting on that side, it's really interesting because, first of all, you get hilarious looks from people that work on the airside. I mean, I'm hanging out the window of a car with a huge lens, and people think I'm like spying on them, or I don't know. I just get some really interesting looks. But so I'm blessed in getting a huge amount of any kind of pictures I want from the airside, which helps me a lot, with the initial development. We still get people that help us towards the end of development, like you guys especially, and they help out with areas that maybe I've forgotten, or new construction that's happened since we started development. But yeah, I mean, going back to the whole discussion with the community involvement, I mean, this is the kind of business where if you're not involved with the community, you're not going to survive, basically. This type of the simulation environment, it requires so much community involvement as far as what we're going to do in the future, what our future product roadmap is going to be like. Help from people help us, like you guys with beta testing and everything. So I mean, from start to finish, you're basically involved with the community, and we're kind of blessed to be in a community that is so passionate. Everyone's very passionate about aviation, so that really helps.
And I would also like to add for Amir, on your behalf, just to piggyback on what you're saying, since I'm sure you're not going to say it yourself. I want to say it for you. You can tell that access means a lot, right? You really can, because when you have access and when you have time to get your photographs and your resource materials and stuff like that, and you can get it together, you get a product like Auckland. You get a really well done airport, and you can see the detail. And because remember, what we're doing, it's airside facing, right? It's the stuff that's on the land side. It's great, it's fun, it's cool to look at, but that's the easier stuff to get. But the airside stuff that the pilot's going to stare at when they pull their plane up to the gate, or to the local FBO, you get good content there. You get good stuff to work from. You get a product like that.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of a lot of developers, everyone has their own style. Some developers don't do it. I think you guys do it. We do it, and so it does make a huge difference. Absolutely.
So I just want to pick up on a few things that you guys have been talking about. In particular, where you get this feedback from. So, Mia, I know you put out a small survey about which airport people want to see next, and I think Frankfurt, in your little example, was kind of, everyone was saying, I want Frankfurt. But then we also have like the Navigraph survey, which went out a couple of weeks ago. We haven't had the results of that just yet. But my question, and to kind of add on what Captain Bod was saying, how much of those types of surveys really influence the products and the kind of roadmaps that you guys take with either as a simulator or as a future add-on content? And Elijah, maybe we can start with you on that question.
I mean, I'd love to say we had the flexibility to pick an airport that we really, pick an airport that's both we want to do and the community wants to do, and go with that. At the time of speaking now, with the way that we're going with our development, it's still very much based on availability to us Size and scale is a big thing. So obviously we're working on Christchurch at the moment, which is a massive step up in size and scale for us. We're enjoying the challenge, but definitely within our own localized community, not so much that the large community, as awesome as it would be to do something like a Frankfurt or something like that. Definitely within our own localized community, mainly being the Australia and New Zealand area, we know what people want, and if we're able to make that work, then we will. So we actually enjoy the whole conversation between ourselves and a few of our regulars in our community, and we enjoy having that discussion and trying to work out what is actually going to be beneficial for both the community as a whole. Anyone that's just thinking, hey, I want to go fly in this part of the world, what airports are cool to fly to? It's kind of the reason we're pushing with Mount Cook at the moment, and what we can do ourselves in terms of size and scale. And that's what I think it is. But it's all about building our products at the moment, getting that size and scale worked out, figuring out what we can actually work with and how we can work with the community and other sources of information to build some really awesome stuff, whether it be scenery or whatever, and just going from there. But I imagine with bigger developers, with like Mer and Ed, with all these partners and whatnot, there'd be some awesome opportunities for the community to really, step in and say, look, we want this, and we can probably help with it. And I imagine that's how the story goes for some of those guys too.
I also imagine there's a part of this too, which is, and maybe this is something that I think maybe some of the bigger guys don't struggle with, but it's biting off more than you can chew, right? Mm-hmm. There's some stuff where it's like, and I'll just give you an example. Like, we're very transparent with our audience and stuff like that. When things don't work, we let them know. When we don't know something, we let them know. Now you have everything. So we had birds earlier for those of you that didn't know, and now fire alarms. One of our first projects, and when we went to go picking it, it was like, we wanted to pick something in an area that people has a lot of aviation stuff going on, and a place that people would be excited to fly into, but not necessarily something where we would get caught in the trap of making something that somebody else would be making at the same time. And we actually started off with Fort Lauderdale International Airport, and we, at the time, for a bunch of different reasons, bit off more than we could chew. Not because we weren't capable; it's just because the SDK wasn't there at the moment, and we didn't quite realize it because it was tackling that whole south runway that elevates up into the air, and the SDK wasn't like really ready for it. So we ended up shelving it and literally shelving it in the middle of the project and moving on to a different airport. So I would say, biting off more than you can chew is probably something else that kind of plays into the mix as well.
And what
definitely a scary thought. Sorry.
No,
sorry, but yeah, the biting off more you can chew is definitely a scary thought. We're still learning. We're all on a learning process, and we're doing really well, and we're really proud of what we got. But yeah, I definitely agree with the size and scale.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry.
Whether you're doing this as a business or as a hobby, scope matters too, because if you can't actually finish the project in the time you have, maybe it's more than you can do while having a day job, or if you're a commercial, maybe you can't make your money back and then you can't go on to do the next airport. So, scope is part of the success of the add-on.
Mm-hmm. And do you think we see that from like a community perspective, Blu? Like, some developers do bite off a little bit more than they can chew, and that might result in a difference in quality of kind of what you expect from certain people.
I'll tell you this, we definitely notice. You'll notice like one part of the airport has a lot of focus. It looks really good. You're like, oh man, from the parking spot, parking spot 1, this looks amazing. It has all the jetways and the people walking around. And then you go over to this other side of the terminal and it looks like, somebody made it in Microsoft 3D or something, So we definitely notice a difference. So, I mean, I haven't actually thought about that part before. I just assumed that if it took longer, you probably charge more. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there, but yeah, I mean, we definitely notice a difference between quality.
Yeah, and you want to be careful that you don't have half-baked areas and areas that look amazing, because, like you said, it's obvious. And the first thing that someone like yourself, Blu, or another reviewer will do, they'll pick it up and be like, "Oh man, this looks great," but over here looks like. Yeah, right. So we got to be super careful with how we do it, and bringing it back to what Ed and I think Nick was saying earlier before, we got to be super careful. A lot of people have invested interest in local airports in the area, At one of the airports we're thinking of doing, I can safely say that like 70-80% of Australia's pilots are trained out of this airport. And it scares the hell out of me thinking about doing that airport, because every man and his dog has been to this airport. I work at this airport, right? That's where my day job is, at this airport, and it scares me. I'm just like shaking in my boots thinking about doing this airport. So we got to be super careful with all of those sorts of processes. Yeah.
And I will totally second that, because right now we're working on DuPage, and I have had no less than 5 people contact me on Discord saying, "Are you going to put Northern Illinois Flight Academy in the airport?" Like straight up, just ask that. And fortunately, we took a lot of pictures of it, and we put it in, and I sent it back, and then I actually got a response from a couple of people saying, "Are you going to have the correct airplanes parked in front of it? Because they only have 172s, they don't have 152s." And I responded, "Yes, and we're going to paint them in the sort of the maroon and white, cream colors that So yeah, I mean, totally 100%. Especially when you have a lot of like training traffic in the area, you're going to get those questions.
So it's quite interesting to hear about how you guys have this process of making sure there's quality control throughout your airports and stuff. And Ed, I'm really curious as to kind of how you guys do that at Orbx, with so many different developers all contributing under the Orbx umbrella, excluding, I know you're head of partners, but how do you guys work to make sure that your releases do have some form of consistency in terms of that quality?
Good question. I think it's really challenging, to be honest. Obviously, the partners, they look after themselves, so that's a blessing. But for us, we have an internal QA, especially with the Microsoft content, the Landmarks product. So we have an internal QA team that actually will assess every individual model that comes in. But yeah, we've got our team of beta testers that help out. They go through the motions of looking at an airport, and try to make sure that everything works as it should. The ATC, the ILSs. I mean, obviously we don't get it right 100% of the time. Trying to rely on nav data charts and things like that. And yeah, so it is a challenge trying to get things 100% correct. And then obviously we miss things, and when we hear about it, we go back and fix it. I mean, some of the things that I know that customers really like now is make sure that the parking lots on the outside and land side look nice. Make sure you got your nice cars parked nicely. It's those little details that we're now trying to make sure that we actually get right. In terms of the actual quality of the actual buildings themselves and things like that, I mean, we're fairly consistent. We're quite happy with the process that we have to make something look good. But yeah, it is definitely a challenge to get 100% all the time.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into some of these projects, and this probably sort of dovetails a little bit with the community, like in terms of like the value there is, being able to put more eyeballs on something before it actually goes out the door, to a certain extent, is key. It's Ed, I mean, we obsess like over all sorts of like ridiculous things that sometimes people don't even ever pay attention to, and then something goes out and you're like, crap, we have a missing ILS frequency, or SIDS got deleted or something like that, and you're like, how on earth did you miss this? And when you start to realize it's sort of a factor of magnitude of how many eyeballs you can sort of get on something, right? Because it would take me almost as long to fully QC an airport as it does to build it. Like to fly like all these approaches under all sorts of different kinds of weather with all sorts of different levels of traffic and all sorts of stuff, and like looking for bumps and pavement and like all of these different kinds of things. And the more eyeballs that you can ultimately get on something, the better the end result actually is. And for us, I know as soon as the community brings something to our attention, we try and jump on it as soon as possible to kind of deal with it.
So what about from a developer's perspective then, Ben? So part of this question from Captain Bob was things that the community do to annoy developers, but what do you think that you as a simulator platform may kind of annoy these developers in terms of creating stuff for your platform, and what can you do to make it a bit easier for them?
Well, I think there's usually two frustrations, which is it's not compatible enough and it doesn't do enough things that we want. And those things are tough because sometimes are at odds, because we all want better simulators, and right now flight simulators are really good compared to how they were 20 years ago. But that's because they do a whole bunch of things they didn't used to do, which means the old content from back in the day, it might not look as good because we couldn't use 4K textures back then, or we couldn't have so many triangles. But it's also a struggle to keep that stuff compatible. So we have to try to do both with our developers. We have to get them the features they want so they can make really good add-ons, and we have to try to not break anything at the same time. So in our last major patch to X-Plane, which was the move of the entire rendering engine from OpenGL to Vulkan, which was an enormous internal change, we actually went to our developer community first. They act as our kind of early private alpha testers. And that was really good for us because if we've got problems with add-ons, we find out early and we can put the compatibility in. If it turns out, sorry guys, this one weird trick you used to do, it's not going to work anymore, they find out early, they can take the necessary update. Sometimes it has to happen. But if it's just that we screwed up and the compatibility isn't working the way we thought it would, we find out early before we've built too much stuff on top of that feature and we get it fixed. We're actually doing that again with X-Plane 12. We have started to get X-Plane 12 in front of third-party developers. We have about 100 third-party developers in our DevRel program, and I think about 20% of them already have internal X-Plane 12 builds. And it's real new, it's real raw. They're going to see all sorts of strange things, but we're going to find out very early what it takes to keep a complicated airplane working with a major update. Or some things will have to change in their add-ons. We have here's the guide to go to X-Plane 12 document, and if we miss things, we'll find out from that. So what we can do is we can try and have good documentation. We can try to be accessible and have a good channel for them to reach us. And we can try and design features that don't break compatibility while adding new capabilities. We usually try to make new capabilities opt-in. So if you want to have the cool thing, you can have it. But if you don't have it, your add-on isn't all smashed up and weird looking. And that way, new add-ons are better, and that's good for your customers. But your old add-ons aren't bricked, and you don't have to go back and update them right now when you're in the middle of trying to finish something new.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And very quickly, because we've got a few minutes left before the break, from the developers, if you could name one thing that you would like to see improved from any platform, what sort of thing would it be? You've literally got 30 seconds to answer that. So if we start with whoever wants to go first.
Can we opt out? Can I just everything's it's all perfect. It's all good.
All SDKs are made equal. They're all amazing.
Yes, I'll second. I'll second that. No, I think from our side, I know. Listen, I'm gonna give probably maybe the unpopular answer for what I see like on the forums, but from a developer's take, I know it's frustrating for us when things break and you can't work on them, right? We're at a standstill right now with our SF50 project, okay, and but we get it. We don't like it, but we get it. It's a massive, massive, massive project. We really do appreciate, like what you guys are doing over there right now at X-Plane. Like we appreciate the build. We appreciate how much work that goes into it. People forget how far all of this has come, even in the last 10, 15 years. And to build something like that massively, there's a lot that's going to come. And like I know we work on a simple airport or airplane, and all of the stuff that goes wrong, and you're like, crap, I got to fix it, and I'm up at night, like, oh my god, some guy from China has sent me this thing, it doesn't work, and I'm like, my wife is like, go back to bed, and like, you want to go like run out and fix it, because you genuinely, we really care about our community, but we get it. We get that that you have to break things to fix things, and that's just how it is, and we roll with it, and we keep plugging ahead. And like I said, I think for us at the end of the day, transparency with our community is best. We don't need to throw anybody under the bus. It's just you become the middleman and you say like, listen, when it gets fixed, we'll move on. I keep liking it to like like the hot girl at the dance. Sometimes she wants to dance with you. Sometimes she's gonna go hang out with your friends. Just hang out, be cool. It'll all work out in the end. So.
Amazing. Perfect. Right. So we're going to have to wrap this up because we're about to take a break, and there's going to be plenty of stuff coming from Evan in just a moment. But make sure you stick around because we have the second half where we've got a bunch of questions from the community, continuing our discussion about flight sim add-on developments. So we will see you after the break.
Thank you very much, Calum, and give the panel a moment to step away, stretch their legs as we talk about some prizes, which is always a very, very popular topic. So you probably entered our contest in the first round at the beginning of today's presentation. Now, for those of you who entered, I'm going to announce some winners. Like I said before, we have more than 20 prizes available up for grabs. I'm going to announce the first 13 of them here in just a moment, and then we will give you another opportunity to enter as we get set for our second half. So let's go. Let me talk about how this is going to work. So this is the most important thing that I'm going to say anyway, and it is if you are a winner, you have to claim your prize. Now this is different than last time. Last time I emailed you, that was way too much work. I'm really lazy. So the way this works is you have to email me in order to claim your prize. So if I'm about to announce your name, if you hear your name, your handle, however you entered, send me an email at info@flightsimiassociation.com within the next 24 hours. That is how you claim the prize. And then I'll send you back the details with how you can actually redeem it. And make sure you check your spam filter for my reply in case it gets caught in there. Last thing I want you to do is miss out on some awesome value. So here we go. I've got 13 prize winners to announce, starting with two $20 Flightbeam gift certificates, good for any airport across any platform. I'm not sure how to pronounce that first one, but it's MLHNDLR. So that is the, I guess, handle of our first winner, and Bob is the second one. Bob Bablavi, I believe is how I would say that one. So if those are you, if you were the one who entered, if those are either of your names, send me an email at info@flightsimiassociation.com, and we will get you $20 worth of Flightbeam stuff. Up next, the Aerobask Phenom 300 for X-Plane. We have two copies of that. That should work on X-Plane 11 and the soon-to-be released X-Plane 12, courtesy of Aerobask. Winners are Robert and Lance. Robert Swain and Lance. So if that was you guys, again, send me an email, info@flightsimiassociation.com. That is how you will get a copy of that Aerobask Phenom 300. Now we figured, okay, we're asking all these developers to be generous, so Phil and I better pitch in too. So we are participating as well. This prize is for a Flight Sim Association Captain membership, access to a pile of product discounts, and a bunch of other great perks in our community. And you can also pick anything you want off of our t-shirt and merch shop. Maybe like the shirt I'm wearing, for example, mouse pads, mugs, a whole bunch of Flight Sim inspired gear. And if you don't like what's on our website, you can actually give us a custom design and we will make one for you, your own t-shirt if you want. So the winner there is Coast Pilot. So Coast Pilot, send me an email, we'll talk about that. Aerosoft chiming in here with the A330 Professional for P3D. That is going off to Phil Chimbolo. Phil, I remember you from Flight Sim Expo. Good to see you, buddy. And I hope you send me an email to claim that prize when we're done here. TFDI has been huge supporters of this project from day one. 3 winners. You get your pick of any TFDI design product, including the 717 Smart Cars Premium. Winners there are Lucas Gum, Olafi, so hi buddy, I know you well, and Balint, or Balint, I guess is the name there. So those are 3 more winners. Send me an email, claim that prize. And we've got 2 prizes coming up, sponsored by my friend Maurice at Aviation Lads. The first one is a relatively recent release from MK Studios. I'm sure I can't say the name of this airport, so I'm just going to say EFRO for Microsoft Flight Simulator. That goes to Captain, handle Captain. So if you put in the name Captain when you were entering that contest, send me an email. We'll get that over to you. And the next one is Flight Control Replay. Now, what you're seeing in the background here, by the way, and this is for all the developers who are watching, pay attention. This is a trailer created by Aviation Lads, and what they do is they take products, they make these beautiful movies for you, and they give them to you so that you can use on your social media when you're releasing something. So Aviation Lads sponsored these 2 giveaways, including the Flight Control Replay that I'm just about to announce some winners of. This allows you to pause, replay, record any of your flights in FSX, P3D, Microsoft Flight Simulator if you want to make some of those beautiful videos like Maurice does. So David PDX, Flight Junkie, and Jacob are our 3 winners there. Send me an email, info@flightsimiassociation.com. Claim those prizes, and that has to happen within the next 24 hours. So as we get set to go back to the panel, this will be your second opportunity. If I didn't call your name in the first half, here's your second chance. FlightSimAssociation.com/contest. We have reopened the competition, and if you've entered before, you can enter again. If you haven't entered before, take that moment right now and visit FlightSimAssociation.com/contest. We have 12 more winners coming up in the second half of today's cross-community panel discussion. So make sure you get in on that by visiting FlightSimAssociation.com/contest. And one more reminder, if I said your name or your handle or whatever name you put into that form, you have exactly 24 hours to email me. And if you don't, I'm giving that prize to somebody else. All right, I think that gives us a good place to start. So let me head back. I think everyone looks like they're back at the computer from what I can see. So we'll bring up Calum and the panelists once more for our second half. And I'll be back with you in just a couple of minutes as we wrap up at the about 40 minutes from now. Calum, over to you.
Thank you, Evan, and welcome back to everyone who's watching, and congratulations to everyone who won those pretty awesome prizes. So if you missed the first half, we are here today discussing the Flight Sim add-on development, and we are joined by a range of different developers, community experts, and also platform developers as well. So in this second half, we have a range of different questions from a bunch of members from the community, and they're a little bit more specific than the general conversation that we had in the first half. So our first question comes in video format from streamer Mustafa. So I believe Evan's about to play that for us right now.
Hey, it's Mike, or as you might know me on Twitch as Mustafa. We're watching along today's community panel at twitch.tv/Mustafa. And our question is this: what is the relevance of the different sales channels? How do stores like SimMarket, Orbx Direct, or the Microsoft Marketplace affect what you do?
Brilliant, thank you very much. So in case you didn't catch that at home, the question was, what is the relevance of the various sales channels? So how do stores like SimMarket, Orbx Direct, or the Microsoft Flight Simulator Marketplace affect your business? Amir, if we could start with you, and then anyone else who wants to jump in, feel free.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Actually, it's a really good one because I don't think a lot of people realize what goes into it, what the actual relevance is. So the sales channels are actually very important to us, and important to me, especially in the 10, 11 years that we've been growing. And not only does supply, obviously, supplemental sales, which is good. In our case, our own web store is the vast majority of our sales. But what the other vendors do is actually bring in new users to us. And that is especially true with the marketplace. It is absolutely massive. And that goes for SimMarket as well. They're very big. But the marketplace has been bringing in an absolute ton of new users. And what that does is they discover our products and they eventually come to us and purchase directly from us. And why that's important is because we take really, really good care of our customers. So when they purchase from our store, they get what we call loyalty points, which are Flightbeam points. And the more they purchase, the more they get back. They get direct access to support. When they ask for support, basically they get a reply directly from me, which is, can't get any better than that, I guess. And in that regards, we get so many new users coming from SimMarket and Marketplace. And essentially I feel like that's our way of growing in the past few years, because you really can't just start off with your own store and be successful that way. So it's been really helpful in that regards.
I have to totally agree with what Mia says there. Again, as a smaller group in this conversation here, our web store has been amazing for us because it means the people who know who we are and really help support us can get that the minute it releases on our web store, bang, they're straight in there. But especially the Orbx partnership with the Orbx Direct partnership program and the Microsoft Marketplace have been amazing for us for exactly what was being said before. It's awesome for our content to be available to so many more people and such a huge market out there with both Orbx Direct, because they've been, before I was a creator, I was a user. So it's awesome to be in both that platform and how amazing it is to have an in-game marketplace as well. as it can be frustrating at times, but at the end of the day, it really is a positive that we do have that marketplace straight in the game like that. It's amazing. Or the sim, it's amazing.
Yeah, I would agree as well. I know, I think the difference with us versus everybody else on this panel for the most part is that we are 100% reliant on third-party marketplaces. We don't have our own store yet. We've discussed it. I think we're going to take it, see how it goes. And I agree with Amira. It's it is nice to be able to give that like help, that that immediate help. So we see that as people learn as your brand builds and stuff like that, you have people that are sort of come back into your immediate orbit. But the relationships that we've developed, I find very fascinating. The relationships we developed, with some of the third-party marketplaces. I exchange emails from time to time with Ed here on some of our stuff. He's always quick to point out if somebody has an issue. They feed it back to us. So maintaining that cadence to a certain standpoint with your third-party marketplaces is sort of key for us. And it's really important because that's how we will get our feedback. It's another pair of eyeballs out there. But to the marketplace that's within inside of MSFS, that's a whole nother monster in and of itself. And this conversation about the marketplace and how it all works and everything, that could be its own forum in and of itself. But I think the one thing that we haven't sort of brought up here, which I think is also another sort of game changer in all of this, is that yes, there's a whole bunch of new users. There's also all these Xbox users coming online, and that's a whole nother thing that's going on. For us longtime flight simulators, it's always just been our community that's here on our computer and all of these different who's got what graphics card and how everything all works out and stuff like that. Now you have this whole like another world that's coming in that we can now touch that we couldn't touch before. It just this level of sophistication was not available to the console user, and now that door is sort of opened, and it's quite unique and it's fascinating. And I know from us, we are, and it's the little party here. We finally got our application through the marketplace approved a month or two ago, and we're starting to see that stuff change now. We're starting to see the trajectories change as that comes online, and it's also, I think it shouldn't go unsaid that it's also great for visibility and brand building. It's another way to put your logo out there. And capitalize on that distribution to build your brand, and it's invaluable that way.
Side note, just curious, how difficult is it to make yourself visible in the Microsoft Marketplace? Because there's just hundreds of new scenery and updates happening like literally every update. And like when I go on there, I'm just like overwhelmed by options.
Yeah, I think they really need to make some huge improvements on the marketplace. I know that Jorg has mentioned that taking the outside of the game and putting it onto a website or something like that. But at the moment, trying to surface up and actually be relevant is very difficult. You just look at the Black Friday sales they had. You had over 400 products on sale. I mean, as a user, how are you going to browse 400 products? To me, I think that's probably where, coming back to ourselves with Orbx Direct, that's why we've tried to maintain a smaller partnership range. I mean, we curate everything that comes through. So basically, we look for partners that come on that are offering something different. So it'll be airports in a particular region or a particular product suite, like Seafront with their vessels and FS Academy with their training things. So we try to create something that when the user comes in, they can shop around and there'll be something different for them to look at and buy. So we've deliberately kept ourselves small because the amount of people who want to come and jump on board is it's grown. I mean, we started off pretty small doing this because we had such a great channel with with Orbx Direct and Orbx Central. But yeah, it's just grown quite a lot, but we're deliberately just trying to keep it under wraps at the moment. And then we're still improving on things. I mean, there's a lot of copycats out. I wouldn't say copycats. That's probably not the right way to say it, but there's a lot of others who sort of jumped on board. You know, SimMarket, Aerosoft with Aerosoft One that are doing similar sort of clients as Orbx Central. So for ourselves now, we're improving Orbx Central. We're actually going to be completely doing it from scratch essentially next year. And because we just need to stay one step ahead, you know, give the partners that are on there just better visibility, being able to actually, you know, bubble up to the top and actually be seen, and people want to purchase their things. So that's our sort of strategy with our marketplace itself. But yeah, the Microsoft one is just, it's a free for all almost sometimes.
Yeah, speaking of visibility, one thing as a user that I absolutely love about Orbx Direct is being able to go to the Discover map.
Yes.
And if there's a sale going on,
just going to say that.
Yeah, you see all the red bubbles, and those are airports that are on sale. And like Black Friday, I was like, all right, add to cart. You know what I mean? And then even when they're not on sale, you know, you'll just see that fact that there's like one or, you know, there's like 5-10 sceneries in Australia. Like, all right, well, I want to go tour Australia. Let me go see what's available in that country, you know. And with the marketplace, I'm not, you know, bashing them today. I'm just saying it's just overwhelming when it comes to decisions, and to be able to have an organization like that is much better to be able to visually see, because a lot of people are very regional, right? Like most simmers literally only fly in like one region. You know, UK simmers, they never leave the UK. Farthest they go is like Frankfurt. No, you know, but seriously, like in the US, the same way. Like they'll fly Florida to Atlanta 100 times. And so you want to know, all right, so what scenery can I fly to from my favorite area? And you'll look at it on the map. So I just want to kind of like, before you do it from scratch, don't take that feature away.
Yeah, and I want to piggyback.
We have to just kind of move on just a little bit on these ones in a second. We had a question from the community, which I think is very relevant actually in terms of what we've been talking about. And this comes from John McCann. So from a customer's point of view then, should the community be buying products directly from a developer website or through the in-sim marketplace or third-party vendor?
I mean, there's no right or wrong answer to that.
That one.
It's another sensitive one, I think.
Yeah. There's no right or wrong answer. But
this is a hard question for everybody, because everybody you see in this panel depends on their upstream stores to get them access to a lot of users, right? This is critical for the business. So, you know, a business thing is don't throw your marketplace under the bus. But when you own your own store, more of the revenue goes directly to the developer. So that's the trade-off. And we see this on both sides with X-Plane, because we're available through Steam and Valve gets a cut of that. That's not as much money for us as when we sell directly, but then Valve gets us a whole pile of 100 million Steam users. So, you know, and they deal with all the e-commerce, and they get us into China. It turns out it's really hard to get into China. Yeah. So they're earning it, but, you know, we make more money at our site. And that dynamic plays for everyone. But at the same time, if every single vendor had their own store and there's a million tiny stores, discoverability would be so hard. So I don't think anyone is saying, let's throw out the marketplaces, right? They're a critical component. Yeah. So this is the difficult give and take that we face.
Yeah, I think though, it's from an educational standpoint to the customer. I think it's like, I'll walk the plank here. I think it's good for everybody to know. It's economics. You know, a distributor is going to push your product. They're going to take a percentage, and everybody has their own deals. Everybody has their own percentages, and everybody has their own benefits that they have to weigh that comes along with those percentages. So yes, as a consumer, you need to know that if you buy a product here, it's going to cost a developer more out of their pocket than if you were to buy from their store. But that said, you need to buy where you feel the most comfortable, and you just need to understand the things that come along with buying at certain stores. You know, obviously, to Mir's point, when you were saying, as you were saying earlier, is when you buy directly from him, you're going to get a quicker response, right? But you might find it easier to buy it from Microsoft, you know, the Microsoft store, because it's kind of there. Also, we understand fully that there are people that will seek our stuff out. There are people that will become fans of us, that will, you know, we get that. But we also completely understand the concept of impulse buying. right? And this sort of ties in with what we were just saying in the previous question. Is I think the biggest thing that plagues Microsoft, the marketplace for Microsoft, is that there isn't a map. Like sometimes it just comes, and in Lars from Contrail did this. Ed, you guys are great with this. Is sometimes you get on a flight sim and you're like, yeah, where do I want to go today? Well, I'm going to fly over here. Well, has anybody got a scenery for it? And people will just spend the money, and it's sometimes it's worse than when my wife buys a dress.
All
the cost value of it, she wears it once, but sometimes that's what people do, and we understand that, and it's part of the cost of doing business. But as a customer, you should know that, like that's you're entitled to know that's how the system works. We give a percentage of our take for the distribution, so we don't have to do that work, and it's fair. But that's how it goes.
That work doesn't just include visibility. E-commerce isn't free, and if you're a bigger developer, you might be able to absorb the comp. I had one of my developers have to do battle with a Vietnamese piracy ring, which is not something any of us thought would have to happen, but it's our store, right? And if it's getting defrauded, that's our problem, right? So sometimes as developers, we say, oh, it's going through this store and they take this cut, but the stores do work for the cut, right? They with the handling e-commerce, handling fraud, as well as the distribution, it is real work. And I've been doing this long enough to remember the days of physical stores and DVDs. And I would say the cost of developers has gone down with digital distribution. So I'd say it's also a situation that's much more manageable and much less tightly squeezed than it used to be.
Yeah, and listen, even the simple exchange of money costs money. Right? You got euros, I have dollars. There's a lot of, everybody has a hand there, that there's costs for infrastructure, there's costs for banking. I mean, there's all sorts of costs along the way, and those are things that need to be that have to be valued. And I think for every developer, even the ones that are not on here and the ones that are watching this and maybe looking to start up, start up your own company. Look at the costs. Start up your bank account. You set up your store. Look at those costs. You have to decide, do I want to spend an extra hour of my week or whatever doing that, or do I want to go upstairs and hang out with my wife and kids? I mean, everything has a cost value to it, and where there is a gap, there will be a service.
So I think this leads quite nicely on to kind of the next question that I have here, and that is about how, what is the rate of return or return on investment from making an add-on product? Because I imagine there are plenty of people out there who think developers are sitting high in these big tool towers and making loads of money and rolling around in piles of cash, but it must take an awful lot to be successful in terms of creating these products. So Ed, if we could start with you, what do you think it takes to be successful in terms of being an add-on developer for Flight Simulator?
I think being successful means being able to stay ahead and innovate. So obviously for ourselves, we spend a lot, or we invest in our people and our innovation and our tech. I mean, if you look at Orbx Central, Orbx Direct, that took a bit of R&D. Volanta as well, the flight tracking app. So I think to be successful, it's trying to stay ahead of the game and innovate in new concepts or new products. I mean, we did that back in the early days with our global-based products, with the True Earth products, and so it's just a case of just trying to stay ahead of the game. I think is how you be successful. I mean, with return on investments, I mean that's probably depending on where you are in life, I guess. I mean, ourselves being an established developer will be different from the likes of Elijah and Nick with being newbies in the flight sim world. And I think with people thinking that these young developers or these new companies are lying around in oodles of cash, I mean that's just not the case. I think especially for young startups, they're sort of trying to get their brand out there. It's probably hard work for them, and I think the majority of them as well are part-timers as well. I mean, this is not a full-time job for these guys. This is a passion for them. They've started as a hobby, and it will probably grow into a bigger established business. But at this stage, for these guys, it'd be difficult for them, I suspect.
Yeah. Just to add on what Ed was saying there about Nick and I don't want to speak for Nick, obviously, but I feel like we're in the same boat at the moment. So I believe that where we're at with NZA, we are successful. However, I'm still picking up a 5-cent piece if I see it on the floor. If I was to run the numbers, I'd say between the four of us dudes at NZA, it would be less than $1 an hour. But saying that, it's not like we're doing this, 42 hours a week. After today's thing, I'm off into the shower, getting my uniform on, and I'm off to work. All right, so it's still a passion project for us, and we're still in that brand building, that catalog building stage, and I believe we're really successful. But we're not counting success on things like return on investment or anything like that. We're counting our success on, do people enjoy our products? Are people buying our products? Are people talking about our products? When we first started out, even just the smallest article on FSElite, or the first magazine article you get, I would have never thought I would have 3 FS magazine. I believe it's FS magazine sitting on my bench here. Right, I would have never, and so to me, those are my measures of success. It's not a money thing. It's not a return on investment. It's how the product's doing. We can continue growing the brand, and that will come eventually. That's all a part of the process. But I think definitely at this stage where we're at, that's my measure of success anyway.
And I know for us, quickly, our key partners for us are all leveraging our individual talents to bring a product to market. Whether it's our site development and admin stuff, or what we just call back end, or the front end visuals and stuff that everybody sees. It's part-time by nature. However, our guys, it's a full-time design studio. Like their work is actually designing and building stuff that many people walk into a hotel or buy a product. That's the world. So this is something that we're also doing, and at this moment it is not paying the bills. Ultimately, do we want to get it to a place where it does? Yes. That probably dovetails into what I think Calum is probably one of the questions coming up soon, which is brand building, right, to a certain extent. But that there is a heavy, if you want to do it right, there's a heavy investment in building your brand, treating your community with care, and taking care of everybody to get to a point where you can, now that you're putting products out and you're getting people that are purchasing things based off of reputation before they even oh, Flightbeam. Yeah, I know this is going to be good. I almost even have to look at the pictures. Boom, sale. I'll just grab whatever. It doesn't care. Whatever's next. Oh, an Orbx product. Whatever's, yeah, just give me. Like, I'm sure, Ed, if you looked in your blog someplace, you got multiple people that literally have every single thing you guys have ever made. Right? So, and for us, that's not necessarily the case yet, and we want to get there. And there's costs that are associated with those things as well.
Well, one quick point I want to make is a lot of from the new user standpoint, there seems to be a little misconception on how long it takes to make some of these add-ons and products, whether it's an airplane or an airport. It takes a very, very long time. I mean, one of our products, for example, takes over a year, and that includes time to getting to the airport and production and beta testing and all that. It is a huge amount of effort, and it takes many months after release to recoup some of that investment back and actually make money off of it. Sometimes it takes even longer. These days it takes even longer because with the new kind of sim that is out, we've had to lower our prices because there's so many new users who feel like the prices should be a lot lower. And unfortunately, so now it takes a lot longer to recoup that money. So just a little, I hope some of the new users kind of appreciate the amount of time it takes to, some of the passion and time it takes to put into these products. I hope it shows that because it's really a lot of work.
Interesting. Did anyone else want to add anything to that question before I move on to the next one?
So something we try to do with X-Plane is think about how much more time it's going to take developers to make an add-on with new features we add. Because simulators are really good now, but that means that add-ons have to be really, really, really good to be enough better than the simulator to actually want to buy. And it's going to take that much more detail to take full advantage of what people's computers can do. So when we're adding new features for X-Plane 12, one of the things we think about is this going to make it quicker to build a plane because it makes you more efficient? Or is this going to make it slower because you can have this great new feature if you do this very, very tedious art process? We have our own internal art team, and they don't want to be told it's going to take 1,000 hours per plane to adopt a new feature. But that dynamic applies to third parties as well. So we try to keep the cost side from getting out of control, because just the increase in computing power is already pushing you to that direction. So when you guys say, you wouldn't believe how long it takes to make an airport, that's also because it's possible, right? If you go back 20 years when 4 megabytes was a lot of VRAM, it didn't take that long to make an airport because how much textures could you have, right? But, Moore's law has made add-ons more and more time consuming, and no one's willing to pay 1,000 times the price just because we have 1,000 times the detail. So we're trying to not squeeze anyone any more than is already happening, but that's been a direction for the flight sim industry for decades now.
Yeah, and I also think that to that point, a year is not enough time, right? It's kind of, I think with all of the new people coming in and all of the new developers and stuff coming in, I think there's going to be a reckoning in terms of filtering out, like the cream's going to sort of rise to the crop and who's going to stick around, and I think with the broad capabilities and exponentially different size of the bandwidth that the casual user can now access on the internet, I think we'll start to see a difference of maybe a little bit of an uncluttering of some of the marketplaces, as you have to, in order to do this and do it effectively, you do at the end of the day have to have a high level skill set to be able to turn out good product.
Yeah, there will be a natural attrition of people leaving, definitely.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to hear kind of how long these projects take, and I think from my perspective, it's refreshing in a way to hear how long it takes, because we only see kind of that transition from it being almost ready to kind of being ready, or if we're lucky in some cases, we see it throughout the entire development process. And it does lead nicely onto this next question, and this is something I'm quite passionate about and quite curious to know what your thoughts are, and that is, what are your thoughts on overlapping development? So we've seen in the past plenty of airports or even aircraft that are the same from different developers, and quite often it's a case of, well, why are you developing that airport when developer X has already made it? So is having more than one developer working on a particular airport or aircraft a good thing, or is it something that maybe we should be seeing less of, or do you guys have like some kind of conversation before you make a project? And if we could start with Elijah from NZA, that would be really interesting to start that conversation.
Awesome. So again, it's one of those questions where I feel there's no right or wrong answer, but it's from me in my perspective as user and creator, I think it's an overwhelming yes. It's overwhelmingly good for everyone that we can have competition in a small market. So flight simulation itself is already a small market, and then if you try to squeeze out the best of someone or the best of multiple groups by having competition within what's already a small space, that can only bring good things. But saying that, sometimes it's not worth it. So the example I think too quickly, as it's personal experience, and we have Mer in the chat here in the discussion as well, was we were going as fast and hard as we could, and we just started saying, yeah, we'll do Airport X, and that was Wellington at the time, and we had really good communication back and forth between, hey, look, we're looking to do Wellington here at Flightbeam, and that was an easy opportunity for us before we'd invested too much time into it to say, look, we're stepping back and we're going to reconsider what our immediate roadmap looks like. But saying that, if there is 2 airports, 2 planes, or whatever it might be, being done at the same time, it can be done. And what it means is that it allows one of 2 options to happen. You either have a budget type option and a premium type option, which again is awesome for the community. It allows people to choose what type of product they want. Or you get two awesome products, but awesome in their own right? Like you could have an airport that's super functionable, super usable, airside looks amazing, or you could have an airport that was more or less designed with the whole airport performance. So you could have an airport that's awesome for things like screenshots because they put a lot of extra effort into the airside and all that sort of stuff. So I think from an end user point of view, yes, it's great to have competition within what's already quite a small space. But from a developer, maybe not so much. If you're purely looking at effort in versus reward out, it could get pretty tricky in that case there. And I think a really good example of what we're seeing now with Flight Simulator 2020, and I imagine what'll be with X-Plane 12 as well, is the difference between a new from like ground up development versus something like an FSX or a P3D port with a few upgrades to it. And again, obvious, it's just, it's obvious to everyone that one will be cheaper to develop than the other. And by having those two different price options, again, it gives the end user an option by what they want. So, if they're going to fly to the airport once, the $10 option makes more sense than if they're going to fly to the airport multiple times. They're going to use it as their base in the simulator. Maybe they fork out a few extra dollars for it. That's my opinion. And I think that's where it can work really well in that sort of space there.
I think. Sorry.
It's also worth considering when the add-ons get done over time, because if two add-on developers are working on the same airport at the same time, maybe they both say, well, we're going to have to fight for the spotlight when we release. But, add-ons come on all different times. And when a new add-on maker makes the same airplane or the same airport, but later in time, they get to adopt newer technology. And I think that can be good for the community because there may not be a real business model going back to the old content for the old add-on maker. They have two choices. They can charge for an update, and then their users go, I already paid for this. You're just trying to rake me, which is hard because they're doing real work and having to pay employees to do it. Or they can do a free update, which users love, but, I give away the updates for free and make it up in volume is not a business model. So that's hard for existing add-on makers in all cases. So, maybe the right thing for them to do is they make the airport, it stays compatible, but it's not shiny and amazing 3 or 4 years later on a new sim with new features. Then somebody else comes in and, does a ground up design, and they can charge full price because of their new add-on maker. And in this way, the community keeps getting new things and has a way to have a business work, which means you keep getting new add-ons, and nobody has to do updates for free and not get paid. No one has to make their customers feel like they're getting charged.
Do you think that's how the community sees it there, Blue?
No, I was gonna say I actually disagree with Elijah on most everything he said. Nothing against you, but I'm just like I do agree that it is good for the end user to have multiple people doing it because then you get more excellence out of someone, right? But you're not guaranteed to get excellence out of both or even 3 different. And so just from my perspective, as a person who's in the sim community right now, and if a scenery were to come out tomorrow for an airport that I've been wanting forever, it doesn't really matter whether or not it's good or bad or who it came from, because I don't know if it's good or bad until I download it and buy it, right? And so I spend my money on a scenery that I'm hoping I'm excited about, and then I play it and I'm like, it's either good or it's okay or whatever, or even maybe it is great. I don't know, whatever the quality may be. And then I don't know, 6 months later, a year later, or maybe even tighter, where it's like closer together, another one comes out. I'm like, why should I buy that one? I already have this one at the quality that it's at, right? And so unless it's like by a developer that's like highly, spoke of, and I'm like, oh yeah, he's gonna really do a great job on this scenery. If it's 2 people I don't really know much about, or 2 developers I don't know much about, I'm like, well, I already bought this one. I'm not gonna buy this one. Or I bought this one. Why do you make this one instead of this other airport that I want? So for the end user, yes, it is good because you over time, if you have seen what the competition has created, and you're like, all right, I can do way better than that, then okay, I get that. You're like, all right, I'm gonna do way better than that. But if you're releasing it right after, it's gonna be very tough to sway the community that, hey, mine is better, because you already spent your money on it, right? I'm not gonna get my money. I can't ask for a refund usually for scenery unless it's just total bad, like really bad. So for me, it's just, I personally don't like it. I know other people in the community feel differently, but it's been multiple sceneries I've bought, and there's been like 3 versions of it, and I have 2 of them, and I was like, well, darn.
Yeah, and I think that's fair too, because I can completely understand from a consumer standpoint that going to the well the second time and I don't think there's anything worse as a consumer is you go in and you look at really nice polished marketing shots, and then you're disappointed with what comes once you actually get it, right? It's like, oh man, now I know why that picture isn't so close, or I really thought there was a different level of work done here. And then, and I can imagine that compounded when you go to the well the second time to purchase something that you are really attached to. And I think the frustration on our side is, there's a utopic view, which is like, imagine this clearinghouse of these independent people that have no responsibility to anybody to say like, hey, this is where you go and you announce your products and that you're working on stuff. And the difficulty on the so everybody understands, the difficulty on the developer side is, we're still a little all closed off. Right? There's competition, right? We don't want to say, hey, you show up to the party and say, I'm making Airport X. And somebody else goes, well, have you started yet? No, I haven't, but this is what I'm doing next. And then the other guy goes, well, that's a good idea. We should make that too. And it's a race to see who does it first. So you don't want to get stuck in that thing. So the problem is you get stuck in the middle, which is you go do your research, you spend money to get on a plane or to drive down to the airport to get your photography, to do all of that paperwork, as Mir was saying, and you go through all the stuff, and then you start building it, and then you get to this point where you're like halfway through, and you're like, now I'm comfortable to come out and say, I'm going to do some work in progress shots. Here it is. And then another developer sitting off someplace goes, we were just about to announce. Right. And then there's this great retraction, like, what do we do? This sort of reckoning internally, like, you've just wasted all of this money. And in this environment where we have younger developers, newer developers, smaller developers, whatever coming in, sometimes you can't afford that. Like, you don't want to make that mistake, and it's not a mistake. It's a risk. It's like a calculated risk. And that kind of goes into what airports you're picking and whether or not you're going to run into somebody else that's doing the same one.
Yeah, so some really good points from everybody, and I think this is a conversation that we will constantly have within this community because we've got developers from all sides of things. We've also got the freeware side of things as well. How do they compare? But fortunately, we are running short on time, and we have one final question from Chewy, which I think is going to be a bit speculative, but we shall see how this goes. And his question is, with quite a few key add-ons for Microsoft Flight Simulator to come next year, plus X-Plane 12 as well coming soon, this is a good opportunity for us to discuss about what expectations, plans, or predictions that you guys have for the next year, or feel free to share, and this is his words, feel free to share any previews, teasers, or news of your own as well. Not that I'm expecting anyone here to announce anything huge right now. But Blue, if we could start with you about maybe very quickly what you're looking forward to in 2022 from some of these devs.
I'm obviously looking forward to, on the Asobo side, because, I have Microsoft Flight Sim. I'm looking forward to getting some high quality airliners to be able to enjoy some of this scenery that we have out there. We've been flying the Airbus 100, all day, every day. So it'd be nice to get some Boeing in the family out there. Also, I don't know if it's even possible because I'm pretty speculative myself. And when it comes to scenery, it's like, I'm interested in seeing what else is possible because I know there's some devs are really pushing the envelope on both sides, on the X-Plane side and on the Microsoft side. I've seen, a lot of people doing the interior thing, which is cool. But like, I mean, how far away are we from like passengers? Like, how far are we from that? Like seeing these airports actually feel alive with people inside of them, with planes around them. I've seen some examples of this already. So I'm just wondering, I'm not sure if that's a limitation of either sim. I know that's not really adding to the simulation side of flight simulation, but it is adding to the experience of the whole airport ambiance.
Awesome, cool. Ben, maybe we can jump over to you about X-Plane 12.
X-Plane 12, yeah, that's
Let's go.
that's what we're going to be doing next year. We are already in private alpha testing with our third parties, and we're hoping to get all the third parties in basically as soon as we can knock down a few critical bugs. So next year, everybody gets the sim, and we're super excited for that because we've been working on it for a while, and we know what it can do. Oh, good. It looks like they've got a couple of the pictures of some of the new technology, and we're excited to see third parties get access to this. They're going to get all the tools we have for doing rain, for doing 3D vegetation, for doing some of the new surfaces, snow, water, and ice. So we were excited to see our own art team take advantage of what we can do, and I think third parties are going to push it even farther because that's what you guys do. We'll be really, really thrilled when it's out.
Thank you very much. And very quickly, is there anything from a developer side of things you're looking forward to in terms of SDK improvements or new technology from any of these simulator guys?
If I've got anything to add, it's not actual necessarily any improvements, but more SDK stability.
Yeah, for sure. And to add on what, sorry.
No, go ahead, Elisha, please.
I was just saying to add on to what Blu was saying before. I've always imagined Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 in my head has always been three comings. We had the initial release, the Xbox release, and now we're about to have the third coming, which is mature, tried, true, and tested airliners coming to the sim. Because at the end of the day, everyone loves general aviation flying in 2020, and that's the kind of flying I enjoy in simulators and whatnot. But we all know where the biggest community in flight simulation is your 737s, your A320s, your A330s. God forbid if anyone ever does an A380. Who know? The whole world is now unlocked. So that's, to me, there's the third coming of Microsoft Flight Simulator, which I'm really excited for, and especially as scenery developers, that's awesome for us because without us having to put too much effort in, we're going to have another whole load of users coming in. And saying that as well, I'm also super excited for X-Plane 12. I haven't quite dived into X-Plane 11 SDK stuff yet because I don't want to get so super involved and then X-Plane 12 come out. But I'm really happy and really looking forward to stepping over that hurdle when it does come, hopefully very soon.
And I know for us, I know we're short on time, so I'll go quickly. We have a couple of products coming out next year. I know DuPage and Pompano are getting closer to being finished. Most people that have been joining up with us as of late are most interested in our SF50, the Cirrus Vision Jet, which, Blu, to answer yours, we kind of took a little bit of a different approach because knowing how the new development with the kind of some of the VFR stuff that's going on where you can really get a sense of flying around the world. Instead of going the airliner route, we wanted to go a small, easy to use, easy to learn jet that is very unique to look at, that is also popular on the other platform from you guys over at X-Plane. So we wanted to go this route to really give opportunity to move around the world quickly, but also do it, without having to have that complicated workload that comes with some of the larger aircraft and having something unique in the sky. So there you go. There's some fresh looks. I don't think these have been seen by anybody yet. So of the upcoming SF50.
That thing looks amazing. I was gonna say.
Appreciate that. So hoping to have it in all of your airports soon.
and Orbx Direct, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You're getting that call.
Excellent.
Yeah, we've been lucky. The response back on that has been really good, and it's interesting to note from a previous conversation that we were having. There is that other world of doing scenery and also doing aircraft, and it is a totally different response that you get from your audience.
Yeah, definitely. Fantastic. I think we're like ourselves. We're going into aircraft ourselves. We're doing the local Legend for Microsoft, the Fokker. The Southern Cross, so something very close to us here in Australia. So for ourselves for next year, I think X-Plane 12 is we're going to be keeping a very close eye on that.
Perfect. Well, listen, we are already over time. It's been a really fascinating conversation to have with such a range of experts on our panel. For everyone watching at home, we hope you have enjoyed this evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you are in the world, the session. I'm now going to hand back over to Evan, but I just want to say a huge thank you to all of our panelists today and to everyone at home watching. And if you have any questions, obviously, please do get in touch via the comment section or via Discord. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of people on board to answer those questions. But thank you very much for watching, and thank you to our panelists.
Wonderful, Calum. Thank you again for being here, for hosting, and thank you so much to the panel for a phenomenal conversation. As I said before, this is sort of the weekend for those who do this full time, and it's even more the weekend for guys who are on the panel who are doing this part time. I know Elijah's going to work right after we're done, and I'm sure a few others will be doing the same. So for those of us for whom this is not a full-time job, myself included, a big thank you for taking the time out of a weekend, especially at a busy time of year like this, to participate in that phenomenal discussion. I know I enjoyed watching and listening along. I hope you did as well, and I hope that we can continue to do more of these in the new year to give us these unique opportunities as a community to hang out, to sort of see some of the faces behind these really cool projects that we've been seeing. Now remember, it's not just the video, so that developer chat right up there is something we're trying to incorporate here as well. You know, we obviously can only handle so many questions and so many developers when we do this live on video, but the text chat is totally open. And so we could see some people were sending in questions and we were getting those questions answered in the chat. If developers want to participate in our next panel discussion, either on video or via chat, we would love to hear from you. Please reach out to me through Flight Sim Association, and especially if you're a freeware developer. You know, we're really talking a lot about the payware side of things. I would love to have more freeware developers come out and share the perspective of what it takes to build stuff when you're not charging for it. So we'd love to hear from you guys in advance of our next panel discussion. So let me jump in and let's do our second round of prizes. I've got 12 more winners to announce as we wrap up today. And just like last time, if we are announcing that you're the winner, you need to send me an email. I had about 8 or 9 of you do that already. So that means there could be some bonus prizes for grabs. Those bonus prizes, by the way, are going to people who are watching on the Flight Sim Association website. So if that's you, you'll have to keep an eye on your email and your spam filter in the next couple of days. So I'm going to announce a couple more people. Just a reminder, send me an email if you've won to claim your prize. You have until tomorrow at this time, 24 hours from now, to claim your prize. We are starting with 2 airports from Canadian Flight Sim Studios. You could see Patrick commenting along in the chat. Thank you, Patrick, for the donation. Starting with Tofino Airport, which is a place I have flown into many times, in a Navajo and a King Air, beautiful airport in British Columbia, Canada. That's going to SimCheck. So SimCheck, congratulations to you. Don't forget to send me an email. The other one from Canadian Flight Sim Studios is Delta Air Park from Microsoft Flight Simulator. I have walked to this airport. I've always been too afraid to land there because it's got a super short runway. So that would be a nice challenge, maybe in that new Kodiak that just came out yesterday. And that is going to Dr. Rick. So Dr. Rick, don't forget, send me an email. FlightFX, who you just saw on our panel, donated a copy of Chicago Executive Papa Whiskey Kilo Airport. That winner is John R. So congratulations to you, and thanks to FlightFX. Second winner on this one is Flyboy31. Flyboy31 and John R. Now, continuing on, Captain Bob. Hey, Trevor. Hope you're doing well. He's watching on the Captain Bob Flight Simulation YouTube channel, and he's donated 2 of what we're calling mystery modules for home cockpit builders. I think they might be a flap lever, so anyone who's flying GA in the sim, that'll be a cool win for you. A $30 value. Winner there is Ben Pilot as well as Sheppy. Ben Pilot and Sheppy. So don't forget, both of you, shoot me an email afterwards. I'll give you a little more detail on what that is all about. And thanks again, Trevor. I'm sure I'm probably wearing a mustache right now on your channel, so thanks again for the support. All right, Aerosoft back in. They gave away the Aerosoft A330 Professional for P3D in the first round. Now we have the CRJ bundle for Microsoft Flight Simulator, probably the most popular airliner, I'm thinking, in the payware world of Microsoft Flight Sim these days. And the winner of that is Kevin_28, Kevin28. So congrats to you. As always, don't forget, send me an email, claim that prize. NZA Simulations was here. You saw Elijah on our panel. They've donated 2 options for you. You can pick anything you want off of their website if your name is Cessna Driver 07 or James P. Cessna Driver 07, James P. You're the winners of the NZA Simulations airports. So when you send me an email, also tell me which airport you would like to have as part of that prize. We'll get you a code and off you go. Again, Phil and I are back at it. We're putting our money where our mouths are. are giving away some captain memberships and a Flight Simulation Association shirt. So maybe one like this one, maybe the other one that says I paused my sim to be here. We've got a whole pile of things that you can choose from. And like I said, we'll build you a custom one if you have a design in mind. And that goes to, I'm assuming that might be either IAD bound, like Washington bound, or it could be lab bound. I can't tell if it's an I or an L, but I'm sure you know. Send me an email. We'll get that all squared away. And Airfoil Labs, so this was a recent release a couple days ago. They dropped the Cessna 172 NG Digital, which our friends at Stormbirds called the most advanced study level Cessna 172 for X-Plane. So they have donated a copy of that. If you haven't bought it yet, Chad E., congratulations to you. Make sure you send me an email. I'll get that code sent your way. And once again, Aviation Lads coming through, big sponsors of us today with their third, I think it is, giveaway. The SimWorks Studio Kodiak came out yesterday, and we are giving away a copy of that. This would be an awesome airplane to go explore their beautiful scenery in the African continent, or just for any kind of flying around, short runways, grass strips. So the wheeled version of that is available. This is sponsored by Aviation Lads, and our winner there is Man. So congratulations to you. Don't forget, for you and everybody else who is a winner, shoot me an email and we will get those prizes taken care of in the next 24 hours. And don't forget, check those spam filters when I reply back to you so you can get your prizes. And that wraps it up for us. As I said before, huge thank you to all the developers who've participated both on video and in the chat just above me on the screen here. Thank you to Calum and FSElite for moderating, to our broadcast partners for helping simulcast this with us, Moose, Maurice, Trevor, Sergio, Colin, and everybody else who is doing this. Huge thank you, guys. Appreciate the support. To all of our panelists, those prize donors, from Phil, myself, on behalf of Flight Simulation Association, thank you so much for watching. That's all from us. Have a great night, and of course, happy holidays.